Welcome back guys to a brief summary of our first look at Fire and Maneuver coming out soon onto PC. Currently this game is in early access and you can definitely tell as you're playing as there are a lot of little things going on that just aren't quite right. But also there's a lot of little things that could be added that would just dramatically improve the game. And so really sets this title out as, well, spoilers for the rest of this, something to keep your eye on rather than something to purchase right now. Fire and Maneuver is already pretty good and definitely worth a butch, but given how it's in not just early access, but also currently stated as beta right now, it's going to be a while until we really start to see all of the different elements coming together. For starters, a lot of little things in the game aren't actually tutorialized, including a lot of the aspects of the campaign, but little details that will significantly help you, such as learning how to bring two units together into a single hex, something that you would have thought would be in the tutorial video right at the start of the game, given how they went over the basics then, are just completely absent. It isn't rocket science and you'll learn how to do it pretty quickly, but the fact that it wasn't there just feels a little off to me. On top of that, there are some crashes, there are some bugs. Actually, our campaign for this game is on permanent hiatus thanks to the save file for some reason constantly glitching out on the load screen. Something that I've noticed a lot in those campaigns, you can end up in infinity screens just out of nowhere because there isn't even a bar to follow to see how much of it is ready to go. Which I do have to say is fairly nostalgic, because I do remember this happening a lot on the old PlayStation. But infinity loads aside, there are a staggering amount of small mechanics you can engage with. I say small because currently they are fairly limited with only 3 or 4 choices having to be taken sequentially, or only a small selection of different things you can apply to your units, such as changing their rifles and buying new equipment. And given that more of this equipment has been promised over time, eventually that's all going to add up, and those little changes can drastically affect how you're using each unit in the battlefield, not to mention the cost of all of it becoming rather unsurmountable to have for everyone. You're going to end up with a fair few specialists, and really having to start planning out your firing and maneuvering to get the most out of each of your troopers, which themselves are a fairly finite resource in this game as well. It's another bloody infinity screen, isn't it? Typical. But speculations in regards to additions aside, what we can currently see in the game is a fairly substantial single player. I've got to say, I've not really messed around with the multiplayer, I'm just not into it, single player gamer 100%. But in that single player, the battles are basically pretty fantastic. I think once the tutorialization is in there and they can really start to explain how all things come together, then you're going to have a very solid TBS on your hand, with a few minor things that kind of need to be addressed, such as when you have so many different cards on the screen that you can no longer see which unit you're using, meaning even if you go into the unnecessarily needing an extra click list of orders, that really does need to be fixed. Give me a nice clean bar along the side, and more importantly, give me an indication of which players are currently moving, not just a little flash on the screen, but physically drag my camera to them, people. Even if you go into there and find out that, say, Unit 14 is currently the one that is moving forward, you can't look at the bar, the list of soldiers and their cards at the bottom part of the screen and actually see who is number 14, you just have to count it. Which, as I said, is not something that's completely insurmountable, it's just a little tweak, a little sorting out of the UI that's really going to see this game come a long way. And once that campaign itself has been fully tutorialized, and there may be a few more options brought in for things such as which rifle I'm using, then once more, it stands the chance of being a damn good game. It already is extremely fun. I have thoroughly enjoyed my time with it and just messing around making these awesome armies and smashing people with glorious mustaches of doom. Unfortunately though, and this is where I am taking some issues with the game, and no matter of its potential is ever going to change this, by releasing a game in early access and already having DLC for it, paid DLC, I am seriously questioning the business model surrounding this game. On top of this, there's also the inclusion of the unlocking of different nations. You can unlock different factions to gain access to their troops for, I'm assuming, multiplayer more than anything else, as I've yet to be able to figure out how to engage with them in some kind of campaign. You will need to gain yourself some coins. You need around 5,000 to unlock a faction. On top of this, you will need to purchase each of your units in order to build an army to go forth and battle to gain those coins. Now the game is pretty nice at the very beginning, not only giving you the option to unlock a faction straight away, but also giving you more than enough to unlock free factions, army not included. Something that I was willing to engage in to unlock all the different nations and really test out their troops and see some of the variety on display, only to find out that currently, though they have stated they will be working on this, you cannot earn those points in a single player match. Meaning if you're like me, you're probably just never going to see them, so unlock the ones you want and then leave the rest alone. Something that I've unfortunately had to learn to accept. A lot of games for some reason have this system. What I truly disagree with though is the option to purchase those factions. You can instantly unlock them, and I'm sorry for doing this in Japanese yen, but for the cost of 1,840 Japanese yen, which does not include the American Civil War expansion nor the Franco-Prussian War music pack, really makes me question just how grindy this is, as whenever you see that option, it shouts out a major alarm to me of, is this game balanced? Have the developers even tried to balance it and failed, so they had to apply this option because they were unable to do so? Or was it intended? Was it made to ensure that people will want to buy this pack in order to ensure they have access to all the different nations, because it's just too grindy, there's too much in it, you can't be bothered? And it's extremely annoying. As I said, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with this game. It's bloody good. There is nothing better than setting up a proper cannon volley fire, following it up with a fine charge of your light dragoons, and then smashing them with sharp at the end. Because let's face facts, sharp smashes everything, people. But I'm then left wondering, will I ever get to play as the Austrians? Will I ever get to check out other campaigns beyond the Crimean if they're just going to be DLC for days? It just raises a major red flag. Something that, to begin with, was a game I would highly recommend keeping your eye on, seeing how it develops, seeing what they add on, to now keep your eye on, because depending on how that DLC list adds up, something that's really going to draw into question my opinion on this game. Now, thankfully, a lot of these issues have been raised and are being addressed by the development team. And going through their development logs, it does seem that they are taking them rather seriously and are working towards alleviating worries from other players. With the main things to note going back to that idea of gaining the in-game currency being able to be done in PvE or against the AI. Having stated clearly on a post of July 17th, that we will roll out a patch quickly to make merits earnable in PvE and stop players from losing merits or gaining no merits at all when they lose a match. Alongside a note from July 24th that next week we hope to add in the Animal Cosmetic system. No idea what that's about. Work on the buggy melee system, excellent more bug fixes, and add in historical scenario battles, alongside an interactive tutorial and advanced nested tooltip systems. Combine all this with the coming soon message written across the campaign section, Fire and Maneuver is looking like it's going to be a very good game. It's just very unfortunate that at this current moment in time in early access, although highly playable, although highly enjoyable, I am worried about exactly what they're doing in terms of that monetization, which I feel is a reasonable thing to say if they've had so many questions surrounding this that they even had to make a statement upon it. Now, I am definitely going to be coming back to Fire and Maneuver, and I do feel that once when some of these bugs have been ironed out, all the tutorials introduced, but most importantly when that campaign comes in, I am looking very much forward to get fully sunk into this. The potential is there. The turn-based combat is satisfying, strategic, and to be fair, pretty darn challenging. Basics of the campaign map are there is plenty of things to consider in terms of your maneuvering about the map, the developing and maintaining of each of your cores, and hopefully further in our development we're going to be seeing something pretty darn impressive. So I look forward to seeing you all again for the full release of Fire and Maneuver, and I hope finally completing a campaign on it. So either way, with all that blathering aside, till next time as always, lords and ladies, peace out. Guys, took a massive beating, but we still have E-Pulse troopers, damn it. I shouldn't be saying that, but I totally mean it.